first pick, and then other teams first banning it and saying, no, we don't want to see that at all. Kai'Sa seeing a lot of wins, did take its first loss, now sitting at 7-1. Nautilus as well, kind of sneaking in game 2s and game 3s, sitting at 6-1.
Yeah.
Not exactly something you'd expect, and it's certainly not like a prio pick, but a lot of teams winning with it. For sure.
Do like the Mbessa ban here. Rich has looked very comfortable on the champion. Yeah, it's been a champ that's been his most played. I don't know the stats out, but I'm 90% sure it's his most played this season. He has had so many iconic games on it. In the beginning of the year, some not so great ones, but nowadays here in regular season for LCK looking a lot better. Vi and Kalista, two almost mandatory bans. Vi is just so powerful right now in terms of that simplicity of execution. Do like that to be taken away. BNK, no interest in putting clear on the Gwen in this first game. We'll have that as their final ban. So that opens things up a little bit here for DRX in this final spot. Wouldn't mind to see a Sejuani ban. Rumble, also a good call.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw Coach Song talking about Varus.
That's up.
It's up, it's available. That's the very obvious pick that I think Diablo kind of has to play. I don't think you want to give Teddy Varus here unless they have a very specific plan in mind.
I mean, the Jace is also super high prio, and they're looking at that pick here first. You know, it's two sides of poke, you know, that we're really talking about, but Nefiri will actually be the first pick instead here. Not a big fan of this one. The Vi is banned, but the execution required to, especially on nerf Nefiri here on patch 7, is not something I'm necessarily expecting to see from BNK, but now you have the Varus open. Now, Varus is so strong in terms of what he can do in a setup for team fights, but he's just so strong in lane. You know, he's one of the most oppressive laners, not only when you're in the bottom lane, but then the ability to get that tempo and lane swap top first, and then what you get in mid lane with it. You just have so much inherent control, and I think with Teddy's experience on the Varus, it should be a no-brainer lock here, but they actually go for, instead, the Xin Zhao. Maybe DRX is just saying they can't play Varus. I don't think they are confident enough to play Varus. They're not going to pick it up early. We'll leave it open, and we'll even grab Xin Zhao here instead.
It's like if they didn't pick it first, they're not going to pick it next, almost. I mean, there's a lot going on here with Varus available, and the huge choke on the top lane pool, like Gwen, Mbessa, Rumble, all taken away. The Jace feels like its value just skyrockets in that situation, yet both teams are ignoring it, and they're both ignoring Varus as well, which is very strange, but instead of doing that, they're really focusing in on the mid-jungle 2v2.
Yeah, that is 100% where the focus is. And perhaps they're scared Rich has a counter pick for this Jace, but we haven't really seen that. You know, the days of picking Malphite top into this, as much as Chronicler always loved it, we just haven't really seen that in the LCK for a while. Sion will be great at absorbing pressure into this pick, and they already have a great scaling mid laner in this Azir in terms of what his damage is going to look like later on. I'm surprised to see this pick, but I feel like it's one that Rich can't really mess up in this laning phase, and one that will just give them a lot of stability for later on team fights. Difficult to dive for Nefiri as well, a tanky target that she, especially with some nerf damage, is going to really struggle to get through.
Yeah, for sure. It really feels like this is something prepared that immediately got slammed right when that Jace got locked in. The Alistar going to be banned. If DRX have an inkling that they do want to play the Varus, they don't have to ban it at all because they have the first pick, obviously. So that's going to force BNK to ban it away.
Yeah, I think in this situation, BNK kind of had to. And especially with you know, the situation we have in terms of scaling here for DRX, if you have, you know, the Azir lane, which is definitely playable, the Sion lane that can absorb all that Jace pressure, and Varus just controls bottom lane. Feels pretty tough. So they'll take away the Misfortune as well. So rail stocks dropping pretty significantly here. And I think Ezreal is probably the next ban on the list here for BNK. If Teddy gets that pick and they have the Ezreal Azir late game,
yeah,
it's just really hard to play out for BNK.
Diablo does not seem happy with what just happened, but yeah. I think it's the right choice. I do agree with you here, Wolf. You don't want to give Teddy Ezreal with all these bans that we've seen so far. It's very good into Talia. It's very good against Dive. Even against the poke from the Jace. Lots of ways to deal with it.
So I think the Ezreal's a no-brainer, but there's definitely some discussion about what Diablo may pick into it. And the Kai'Sa being up is a slight deterrent down here in the bottom lane. Ezreal banned, of course, in that last spot, so grab the Kaisa. But I was going to say, like, there's a chance for an Ashe lock-in. I thought that would be maybe another option they go for, because this comp isn't necessarily super divey here for DRX, but Xayah into Kaisa has been a common counter pick, but doesn't necessarily suit the rest of their composition. If they can set up something with this Taliyah, it feels good, but you know, if this was something like Taliyah Sejuani, you'd be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you've got some really nice setup for this damage, but it's a little bit more finesse. And again, I'm always feeling like the easier it is to play for teams like BNK right now, the better. As this draft just got a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
Might just be Rakan to follow, but like engaging onto this comp is not going to be easy. And Poppy is up, by the way.
Yeah. I think you slam the Poppy and you're feeling pretty good. You don't have to. Maybe you want some form of reliable engage, like a Rel, like a...
Pantheon?
Well, not like Pantheon. That's not what I was going to say, okay, Ondil? As long as it's not Elise, I guess we're happy here. But Pantheon is going to be locked in, and so they did want some sort of engage.
It's great. It's great into Nefiri because, you know, Nefiri obviously has untargetable, but once that's down and she's in the thick of things, she can't really get out. And if your only target is Azir, he's got self-peel, and then you've got a Pantheon to follow up. So I feel like it's maybe just simply put the best answer to the Nefiri setup here. That's why they opted for it. It's decent into Rakan as well, because he goes in, you stun him, you lock him down. It's difficult for him to get out. But yeah, I think Poppy could have been better overall for team fight setups and objectives, but the Pantheon will have its own utility because it can engage and enter the fights from a long distance away.
And it's very easy to play.
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about that, Wolf. The Nefiri goes in, goes untargetable, you press, you're stunned. Or you just hold your shield in front of the Kaisa or in front of the Azir, and you create even more space alongside of the Xin Zhao and the Sion. I think it does have a decent spot. It's a very interesting pick, though.
I don't think on its own in isolation, BNK's draft is bad. I don't think it's a bad draft. I don't like it as much as I like DRX's if you take the nameplates off, but when you put the nameplates on, I'm not confident that BNK, with what we've seen from them so far, will be able to get it done. I think Raptor is going to have to do a lot here with Vikla for this composition to work.
It's going to be pretty interesting to see how that bottom lane looks as well. Xayah versus Kaisa, we're back. the head-to-head. We used to see this all the time, especially with the Kaisa Prio where it's at. We see it once again. BNK up against DRX. Game number 1 starts right now. Or in just a few moments.
Yeah, we have a small pause.
Yeah.
It's a good time to have a pause. It might be one of the first pauses.
Someone has escaped.
Oh, man. I was going to say one of the first pauses where you have the pause thing come up and it says 0, 0, 0, 0. Wait, how many zeros did I say? 4 zeros.
You did say 4, yeah.
Yeah, that's how many zeros would show up. But because the game didn't start, we might not even have that. Diablo to go into the bathroom. Diablo got a sign there as well.
Toilet issue.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some controversial toilet issues in the past. This one's not really, I don't think this one's going to make it in the top 5.
Yeah, it's kind of a boring one. I think if you're going to have a toilet issue, now is the best time, right? Because you don't want to get into game and then it's like 15 minutes in and you're like, oh, am I going to make it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you're trying to play, you're trying to have a good time and do your best, but obviously your mind is on something else.
The Carrier finals toilet issue, or maybe it was lower bracket finals, I can't even remember. That was definitely one of the top ones. I wonder, like, I don't even think you get a warning for this one though, because it's just at the end of draft and I think everyone will be understanding. But yeah, I recommend going before before the draft.
Yeah.
You know, like Dad said in the car, like, go to the bathroom before we leave.
Yeah. Well, he was pretty quick about it.
Yes,
so
he was.
That's nice. The toilet issue is resolved. This Diablo guy is pretty good. Call him Diablo.
Sometimes Chronicler does.
Sometimes? You mean every time? I'm partial to Ox's Diablo.
Diablo?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. Got all sorts of different pronunciations for this guy.
All right, well, once he gets his headset on and we do a ready check.
We're buying items already.
Yeah, items are being purchased, so I think we are on pause. And good to go, Valdez, so take it away.
You're going in. It's game 1. right now.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
It'll never not be impressive to me the way that we do the openings with the fan chants, with the champions, you know, warping in and walking out at the perfect timing. You know, it's pre-recorded, but it's still just so cool. Like I like when I first like was casting and that happened. Like I watched it at home, but when I was casting, I was like, man,
yeah,
this is rad.
It is really cool.
I don't know if any of the other regions do stuff like that. Maybe they do, and I just think it's only us, and it's not that special. But it feels special to me about this.
Yeah, I mean, oh, they got the ward.
Ooh,
it's
that's
pretty
actually
nice.
a big win.
I mean, at the end of the day, the timing of the ward, they're gonna know that he's probably gonna start up there. As I say that though, Sponge is moving.
Mind gamer.
There's all different kinds of gamers on the internet. Sponge is a mind gamer.
That's right. I wonder if he plays Minesweeper. That's a mind game.
Yeah. I was never a big I always played the pinball game instead. You know, like the space pinball game? Yeah.
Yes. Was it Space 3D Pinball or whatever?
Yeah.
That was a great game.
That was a good one. At times when for some reason I just didn't have internet.
Well, for me, it was when I had my Windows 95 computer that didn't have internet at all when I was playing it, because it still existed all the way back then.
Yeah.
Where I played like Pipe Dream and Chips Challenge. Chips Challenge was the best. No one knows what we're talking about, but
how many people in chat were born before 1995?
Yeah, that's a good question. How many people in chat are opening, like, looking to see if their version of Windows has the pinball game right now to try it for the first time? Put that away. It's LCK time.
Yeah. It probably doesn't, actually. I don't know if that's still on Windows PCs.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
You think any LCK player has ever opened the pinball game waiting, like, during the tests before the game starts?
Probably. I mean, we've had some significant delays in our time.
All I'm saying is, to wrap this up, Sponge probably would be a pinball wizard, based on his pathing in the early game.
Yeah, he's a mind gamer.
He's a mind gamer, even though pinball is actually a little bit more of a reactionary game. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's stop this now.
If you want, you know. We've had some slow beginnings here at the LCK. I feel like it's almost like with the tower buffs and then the you know, the killing of the lane swaps, right?
Yeah.
We thought, okay, we're going to have a lot of 2v2 action. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be winning lanes and stuff like that. Instead, we don't get dives. We trade objectives, we handshake, and we just, you know, sometimes you get little skirmishes like this, but we have a lot of handshakes in the bottom lane as well. We don't have a lot of teams that are going for heavy winning lanes and are trying to say, okay, we're going to just win the 2v2 and get so far ahead that you can't win.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me is I feel like as Rich gets a really nice trade here.
Yeah, you know, oh, clear. A couple more autos and, you know, maybe Rich goes down, but not meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, a bit of a skirmish here.
Okay, we're getting some action. But Sponge just gonna flash.
Mind gamer.
Yeah. He's trading flashes for the follow-up gank in 4 minutes and 50 seconds.
He's gonna give a lot of tempo to UCal, though, off the play. You know, now UCal has flash advantage in the mid lane. As every time he wants to get the knock-up on Andel, Andel says, I'm going back in.
Yeah, that time, though, probably should not have gone back in.
Yeah.
Not sure about those feathers as well from Diablo, just missing both of them.
Yeah.
Going to the right.
It's, you know, sometimes it ain't pretty, but it's the LCK.
Yeah.
He did not have his full stack up. He was one away, Andel that is. And I liked the putting the shield up and then backing away. Maybe not going in there in that situation, but
yeah.
Won't amount to too much. Will just be an extra push in here. He's going to get the back off. Is heading to the mid lane for the moment. Might try to make something happen there. It's unlikely he'll find anything, but he knows that Piccolo, of course, is down. Flash. And it may just be that after Teddy catches this wave, they swap to the top side. Clear has teleported back to the top lane, so no intention of doing that right now. But look at Rich, he's backing. Maybe Teddy does go up there after this wave, but we'll see what he decides to do. He is going to take that back now. And this is the timing where you can lane swap for tempo. We've seen it so many times, almost like literally every game. But I was going to mention, going back to what you were saying about how the early games have been very quiet, I think Riot added so many objectives to the game to fight over, but fighting over them in a bad position often could just flip the game. So teams have decided, like, yeah, they're there, but
our teams have decided.
Our teams. Trading is better than coin flipping the game.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, LCK has always been this way. You know?
Yeah.
There were fewer objectives, even. And even before the Rift Herald, you saw a lot of trading across the map, even if it wasn't over objectives. As we are going to have an engage here from BNK. That is a nice combo on a Sponge. Remember, he doesn't have the flash, has to just go in. And there it is, first blood given over to Clear. That's going to be a nice start for him.
Yeah, pretty peculiar setup there for DRX, or kind of lack thereof, as Yuka had Prio and his ultimate. Didn't show up. They swapped Teddy top side. He was just clearing minions. And now, as a result of this, not only the first kill going over to a Jace, but it is also going to be all of the grubs coming, as Teddy came over and was like, can I impact this in any way? No. And then decided to go back to the top lane. Rich is getting a nice lead down here.
Yeah, he just ulted straight into Diablo. Diablo is going to hit level 6, so I don't think he dies, but he is going to use his barrier instead of his ult. Interestingly enough, but he will value his ult more than his barrier. So he says, I got myself in a weird spot against a Scion. I'm just going to try to farm this out and go back.
Yeah, he knows there's a pretty high chance that Sponge is in the area, and Scion can dive basically with impunity. Like, he wants to die and keep going on you, so decides that keeping his ultimate under this tower will be more valuable if that Xin Zhao shows up. Ooh, can't get hit by those, man.
No, it's Diablo. It's all calculated. He's playing right on the edge. Perfectly done.
I mean, if Sponge is there, might be pronouncing that name Diable. That might be a Diable situation. A situation in which he could
Diable.
Die. It was Diable.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he meant by his name. You know, have we asked what he meant by that?
We did not ask what, in fact, he meant by that.
Yeah. But yeah, it goes back to your point, Wolf, because, you know, we talked about trading objectives and how sometimes if you do fight over an objective in a rough spot, you can sometimes lose the game or flip the game. They didn't lose the game by losing Sponge, but now they're pretty decently behind in this early game, our DRX, because of the way they fought over the grubs. They didn't have the good setup for the grubs. They could have just gone and taken the Drake instead.
Yeah.
They wanted to go for the grubs, but they're like, not really, you know, immediately the bluff was called from BNK and they just ended up taking the bad end of that.
But now they get to swap at a timing that actually is more valuable for them than what DRX got out of their swap. Teddy comes back down here, and in fact, it's just Clear picking up plate money and didn't need to use a teleport. I think that his teleport's going to come back, and he'll have that around the same time that Rich has, a little bit later, but can be anywhere and can help now try to set up for a potential next objective. As UCal is kind of crushing this mid lane in terms of just pure laning. Will grab a plate himself here, and has been winning this lane pretty hard. Is up 10 CS. Had Prio for the earlier fight, didn't show up, but he's been in control. And this is a matchup that we talked about, and you mentioned first as kind of the most lopsided one potentially here for B&K, unfortunately. But it's nothing out of control just yet. Ridiculous flashes back up while Sponge hangs out, looking for an angle.
All right, nice response flash there from Vikla. But that does mean potentially they could look for the follow-up here on a Vikla. They didn't get a kill last time Vikla didn't have his flash, so maybe this time will be the charm. Overall, a good trade. As why does this keep happening? And he really is Diable this time around. Rich is just going to kill him.
Yeah, that shouldn't be Diable, to be honest. We'll have to get a replay of exactly what happened there, but maybe we can just show a replay of what happened in the bottom lane several times moments before this, as Rich getting a solo kill on a Xayah in this game is not really what I had on my expectations. I don't have a bingo card for this, so I wasn't going to say that.
We should make them,
yeah.
Honestly, for games like this.
I'll be honest, it would not be on the bingo card if I was making one.
Yeah.
To Rich solo kills Xayah in the top lane. Would not have been there, as we'll get a look now. I mean, the
So he probably just saw.
Oh.
Oh no.
That's just not okay. That's unfortunate. And then, unfortunately, he ults, and Rich is just like, well, I will still hit you. Yeah, that I was like, okay, the ranged minions, maybe he goes, no, he just kind of stepped back into it. That was, I think, maybe a little bit nervous, you know, feeling a little bit sheepish after the toilet issue earlier. I don't know, but it's not going to be wanted for the highlight reels, unfortunately. But for Rich, you're happy to pick up the money. You're on the board. And it's needed gold here for DRX. They actually take a slight lead off of that. Very slight.
Yeah. It lets them catch up. They're still going to be behind on objectives. BNK were able to get both the Grubs and the Drake.
Yeah, and arguably less valuable gold on a Scion than the Jace, which is where the kill gold went for BNK on that last fight. Let's see if they can set up for, look at the mid prio again. Very high for UCal, and his ult is coming back up. So I think if they want to fight for this, he should show up. And he will.
He's got an ability to get a nice angle on his wall once again. At least DRX are going to get one. So they got the one, but now they're trying to abandon ship once again. And now we got a 1v1 up on the top side, but Diable potentially here as he is going to flash, and now he's got his Rakan coming in, and the Ignite is going to come through as baited potentially. Teddy in a bit of trouble. The flash does come out, but he's got a Naviri on his back, and that will be enough. Raptor does pick up the kill, and so BNK will be able to trade one back.
Yeah, and DRX only pick up one grub here. I mean, now Vikla's got control of this top side. Looks like he's gonna grab a plate, and that's going to be 5 grubs for BNK off of the failed collapse onto Diable. Definitely a error of judgment, I would say, for DRX. Could have held the objective. Diable had both of his summoners. He doesn't anymore, but he has his life. As you'll see the turn here, and you can see where things are set up. Like, Andil's in the position, he has his ult to where he can collapse. They could maybe even look for the pick onto the Talia, but instead they just completely all in on killing Diable, going to the turret, and now, like, UCal's like, well, I can't help you guys. He just backs away. And with Teddy gone here, and UCal going back to the mid lane, they lose control of the grub pit entirely. And as they back away, Vikla gets plate gold. So, pretty nice spot here for B&K. Once the dust settles, 5 grubs to 1. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I'm going to give credit to Diable for baiting that one. As he took a trade against Teddy, he ate everything. The W, the Q, the passive. And he got really, really low. It was very well calculated. I don't know if he actually meant it, but we're just going to give him credit and say, nicely done, Diable. You baited him in, and sometimes you got a kill for the team.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes there's value in winning trades and almost killing the enemy champion to where then he can't join the objective, and you get the objective and win that fight. And I think that DRX were thinking more about kill Diable in that moment.
Yeah.
And they almost got him, but because they didn't, they have some regrets on that last play. Still a very close game.
Yeah, I mean, from this point, it's anybody's game. We've seen that even yesterday, like, you have a team that's the favorite, they get ahead by 3,000 gold, 20 minutes in, we're like, okay, this feels kind of over just based on the amount of control they have, but I think this is an even enough matchup that even if it does get to 3K, I think it could go either way, just because, you know, not the cleanest teams that we have, and we have already seen a decent amount of mistakes that have been taken advantage of by both teams.
Yeah, well, I think it's really going to come down to some team fights on some Drakes. You know, in a few moments' time, we'll have that second dragon. It is not going to be a Cloud or Infernal Soul.
Yeah, Ox is here today. We had 3 Chemtech Souls yesterday. That was very disappointing, 3 out of 5. What was he even doing?
Yeah, I mean,
not his job.
I don't know if there's any way to track stats-wise how many souls we've had. Like, I don't think Games of Legends does, like, a soul tracker. You can see how many, like, souls each team has gotten, for example, or each player. But, like, I think Chemtech is by far the most this season, and I think it was bugged during LCK Cup to where it was, like, always Chemtech Soul or something. I think they fixed it, but it doesn't feel like it. I have a feeling it's going to be Chemtech Soul, but we'll find out momentarily. As right now, DRX have full prio on the bottom side of the map, as B&K have indexed to the top side, but that Herald is not up for a while here, so UCal is just going to get the turret for free, and DRX will get this dragon. So while that top turret went down, the B&K were able to secure there as well. And it feels like DRX are kind of just getting away with this for free here. And there's just simply no contestant. By the time that Herald is up, they'll be able to contest that. So, not feeling like BNK are finding any angles.
Well, just gonna try to get some vision in here. Perhaps.
Oh, Ocean.
Yeah, we did have an Ocean yesterday, but another Ocean Soul. Not so bad. Don't see it all the time. It feels like a special occasion because it seems kind of rare.
Would have been pretty rough for BNK if it was a Mountain Soul with this Scion composition here for DRX.
Yeah, I don't think Kaisa needs any more shields either, you know? I think she's got enough.
Yeah.
Even Azir as well.
Raptor.
Yeah, just gonna go untargetable. We got a deep flanking TP coming in. This is a Jace who is gonna be coming in here. We do have the charm in mid. They don't even need him for that. Vikla in a bit of trouble, but BNK are winning this fight right now. Sponge going very deep for it as Vikla finally gets punished by Rich, who's the only guy who's doing something on this DRX team. Gonna help pick up a second kill and kind of spare the blushes of that wonky fight.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a weird one. As it's Rich and Andil who get the kills, I believe, in that exchange.
Yeah.
So they got kills back, but they weren't really very valuable in comparison. As Raptor, honestly, watching this back, like it feels like he's kind of trying to bait this situation here, and Clear has that ward he can TP to. If they win this fight, you know, they look to turn it straight to Herald, and the Sponge can live for a very long time. He is Jin Zhao. Rich comes in here on the flank, gets that trade of kill, but it's, again, pretty messy in the ensuing fight. Ends up being 2 for 2, and no one gets full control over the Herald pit, so we'll reset and go again. Vita Strength picked up off of this for BNK.
Yeah, they actually got the first turret in top lane as UCal was getting the bottom one.
Yeah,
so.
well, I say they got it off of that, but throughout all of this, they have gotten it. It was not because of that play.
Yeah. So, feeling pretty good about that is BNK. But still, I think both these teams really want to pick up this Rift Herald. You know, there's no bot turret to trade for the Rift Herald, at least for the side of DRX, so I would imagine they want to stake their claim over it. They've just got Rich in the bottom lane, who's got his ult back, who can always rejoin if necessary.
Yeah.
We saw in that last fight.
Well, quite a ways away as well. And he is going to need to make his way up. Vikla is coming over too as Weaver's Wall and his Talia, so with passive, he's just kind of surfing her way in as we haven't engaged onto a Jin Zhao.
I mean, there's the wall. Ondil is just going to get stunned up as he goes in. At least he has the shield, but not for very long. Elects not to flash. Curious why. I feel like if he just flashed away to the right, I think he survives, especially with this whole team there. But instead, he just goes down, and that means that BNK will pick up this Rift Herald. It's only going to be for one death, but yeah, it's still a pretty nice lead that BNK get moving into the mid-game.
Yeah, I mean, they end up getting a ton of money. They will get a ton of money out of this. And when you look at the setup here, you know, Sponge gets engaged on, you feel pretty good about this for DRX to trade of ults, and then you say here, Ondo could have just flashed this, but he gets charmed as well.
Gets charmed. Okay, that's
I think if he flashed right before the charm, he might get out, but
yeah.
It also felt like when I was watching it the first time, maybe he's trying to hold them there a little bit longer so that UCal can have a nice ult or something, but they just didn't commit, so he looked silly, you know, in the end result, but I think he knew that you know, his flash would be valuable later on, and the fight was lost, so living there denies some gold, but wouldn't change too much.
Oh,
UCal
going in as now Vikla kind of isolated here on the right side. BNK just going to leave him out to dry. They say, man, you're dead. There's nothing we can do. Raptor and Kellen abandon ship. So a nice little pick for DRX. It looked like BNK wanted to set up a fight there, but not going their way.
Yeah, it's been a kind of weirdly scrappy game, where most of the deaths have been kind of like incidents that have occurred.
They accidentally run into each other. They're like, oh, I guess we got to fight. Speaking of which,
Rich,
this is not accidental, and that is going to get the Featherstorm out as a stun will come through, but a little bit too far under the turret, so no follow-up there.
valuable to get the ult though onto Diablo there, so is going to find himself a lot more vulnerable in a potential dragon fight that could start up in 40 seconds. This is UCal's catch here on the Vikla. Like I said, I'm going to look for him, finds him, kills him. And also, unfortunately, did not pick up the kill. In fact, that also went to Andil.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about solo queue, a Fed Pantheon, a scary idea, but a Fed support Pantheon in the LCK, that's not, it's not valuable.
Yeah.
He's not going to be doing too much.
I mean, you know, he's second most farm, or I guess third most farm in the game, and has 2 items, so, you know, he's feeling like he's starting to hit those break points. Like, this is the big spike for the Azir, where he's got the Leandri's and the Nashor's Tooth, does a lot of damage over time. Also does a lot of damage to turrets in a side lane. But yeah, he would have liked to have that kill. Not the end of the world, but see what he can get done in this upcoming fight here. Does have his ult back online, no flash, but still has a long engage range. And Diablo still a ways away from his ultimate, so he is a prime target if he positions erroneously. Got to be careful about walking through this brush, but Raptor goes in first. They clear the ward. That's buying enough time, though, for DRX to whittle away at this dragon. Clear does have TP, but he's going to opt to push instead for now.
Just a wall here to try to get mid lane turret. It might actually pay off. The dragon is forfeited by BNK.
TP from UCal to deny that top turret, but they will lose the mid one, as you say.
Ooh, and that top one is pretty worse for wear. Not looking good up there either. So BNK, they're electing to say individual Ocean Drakes aren't going to change the game. What will is extending our gold lead.
Yeah, I actually think this was 100% the right call. They didn't have any prio. They didn't have Diablo's ult. It's a 2-item Azir who has ult. Just use your topside control you have with the Jace to at least guarantee some damage there. They get Yukao's TP out of it, and they use the Weaver's Wall pretty smartly there to guarantee that mid turret. So I actually think it was a masterclass of how you give up a dragon and get something in return from BNK, who've had a pretty solid game here, to be honest, Valdez. You know, Diablo had some individual mistakes in terms of dealing with the Scion that he's not probably too used to laning into all that much, but
yeah.
Overall, in terms of team play and objectives, DRX have kind of dropped the ball a few times, and BNK are getting so much gold around the map. I mean, they're right now 3,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, and the biggest lead is the man you just mentioned, Diablo. He is 2,000 gold ahead of Teddy, who is also down a level. Teddy, that is. You know, he's going for the crit build, which is very popular nowadays. Any crit build is going to take a while to get online. Even the old Kai'Sa builds, you know, if you hit 2 items, you felt decent. But yeah, Teddy's really not a big factor in this game. He needs a lot of time to get online, whereas Diablo kind of feels like he already is. He's only on 2 items, but the lead is so gigantic that if a team fight starts right now and it's somewhat even, you're gonna want to have Diablo on your team rather than Teddy's Kai'Sa.
100%. And he's going to be the type of Xayah that this early can actually put a dent in the Scion. You know, even though he's low range, if he gets some time with Rich, he will clean him up. So I think Yukal's job in this game is so important. His role in setting up engages or catching a potential target, which is, it's tough to catch the Xayah, obviously, when her ult is up and she has flash, like right now Diablo does. So we'll be keeping our eyes really fixated on Yukal when we move into that next dragon fight. Still a ways away from it, as he is just going to set up a Sun Disc here. I really love how much pressure BNK are putting on as well with the lead they have. Putting up some wards, threatening constantly. And you know, the fact that Clear has teleport still means he can threaten that he couldn't show up at any point. Oh, we're learning. Not this time. Rich is like, well, might as well go for it.
Gives him the thumbs up. He's like, oh, you've learned. Okay. Do you know what my champion does now? Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny. I'm not really sure if Rich actually wanted to go in on that. Rich sitting at level 15.
I mean, the other thing is, of the 4 kills, like we've pointed this out earlier, but when you look at it, it's 100% of the kills go to who you don't really want them to be on, and 2 kills for Rich, which is, again, valuable, but not as valuable as if those have been kills on an Azir or on a Kai'Sa, and then 2 kills for the Pantheon, which, you know, is going to utilize gold better than some supports, as you were kind of alluding to, but still would have liked it elsewhere. And Yukal does have an arm guard, was able to purchase that, as Raptor may have to become untargetable, or perhaps not.
I mean, Anlo going to put up shields here. We do have BNK going pretty deep, but they get the TP, and I think smartly just not going to overcommit in the enemy jungle. You know, we've seen so many teams throw in that exact spot, and I think BNK make the right call here.
I mean, yeah, BNK are, you know, playing like it's old Baron at 20 minutes, and they're playing for vision here. They have a ton of control over this. Otacon is topside, so DRX need to respect.
Well, one way to do it is to send your Pantheon in. And he's got Celestial Opposition this time. He does have a first item as well. I think it's going to be pretty hard to kill Ondil, even if you do catch him out. So that Pantheon support with a couple of kills, at least doing his job.
Yeah, did play it well. I liked how quickly Vikla was able to scoop him up there, but because he can just put up a shield and kind of eat the damage. Both engaging on him and Sponge is quite difficult to turn that into a successful play because they have so much mitigation there. The Scion is very tanky, is sitting on 2.5 items right now, but with Leandries and this pretty big Xayah, as well as a little, like, the Fury Leandries burn type action.
Yeah.
Dog Leandries.
Dog Leandries.
You know, Rich isn't going to last forever.
LaBarclays, yeah.
I'm trying to be optimistic because, look, I look at this game state and I go, look, BNK have a lot of advantages, but they have thrown from bigger leads than this in the past, and team fighting is going to be tough against this comp, but they need to hold on to this lead as here comes Vikla.
Oh, they're going really deep for that one. He goes untargetable, though, and it's UCal who gets caught out. The follow-up is excellent from Kellen, and they just burst him down. That's all they have to do.
They don't even have to take 5v5 fights if they just keep playing through this pressure and, you know, isolating targets and killing them. That was pretty bold, but it works out, and it looks like BNK are just going to take a Baron off of this. Andil and Sponge and Teddy are on an angle here, but getting in is going to be easier said than done.
I mean, they might be able to kill clear, but I don't know. BNK, I think they should have just taken the Baron. They elect to go for the fight. The Redemption comes in, but already taking a bunch of damage, but still BNK winning this one so far. The flip back is good, but Rich picks up a third kill. Might have to pay for it, though, as down he will go. It's another kill onto Diablo, who did 4,000 damage in that fight. BNK, they could have just taken the Baron, I think, but instead they'll take the fight.
Yeah, I think that was the kind of angle I was thinking there. You have a lot of control. You know, you have turn if they go in.
Oh, just do it now.
They will get it now, ultimately, and they did end up winning the trade of kills there. You mentioned how much damage Diablo did in that fight. You can see Rich, as tanky as he is, you know, is killable, especially with the fight starting off the way it did. Kind of sloppy there from BNK. They'll get away with it. And this is kind of what I was talking about, where I'm like, okay, we've seen them throw leads in the past, and I'm worried that, because all it takes is 1 or 2 good fights for DRX, 1 Baron for them, or an Otacon, and, you know, they're back in control. This was just... It seemed like such a silly play, but because only Rich is here, and they identified Teddy and Andil are topside, there's just no peel, and he could just press W, and he's fine.
Yeah.
And the follow-up was great. Clear eats a ton of damage here, but look at Rich, his health bar is already at half. Sponge, once the Crescent Guard is gone, he is gone with it.
And live, we do have Andil getting picked off as well. The Baron push is coming in. They're trying to extend vision in the jungle, and they found a little bonus Pantheon alongside of it, so... Feeling pretty good is BNK about their current position. And been a very clean game from them so far.
Yeah, and DRX's team fighting 5v5 is insanely strong, but BNK are just not going to let them have that 5v5. They just keep pushing, they keep extending vision, they keep finding angles. Now turning on to Rich.
Yeah, and DRX, they keep trying to take fights when they're down members, and it feels a bit desperate, you know, like they're trying to claw their way back in with a nice fight, but they're behind already in gold, but down a member as well. Even if it is your support, it is going to be difficult to find the angle, I'd say, as now Otacon left alive, just sitting there for BNK, and you see pickup.
There's no reason to try to push this Baron buff into inhibitors right now when you could just get an Otacon instead and extend your lead. You know, you've gotten so much value out of the Baron already, 3,000 plus, and DRX just can't really get here. They don't have any vision.
They're going to try to bully their way through as a 5-man unit.
I mean, Kellen could just sacrifice himself here, essentially. I mean, he doesn't even have to if he doesn't get caught, and they're just saying, you can't come anywhere near this Otacon, it's mine. And now they have Reses with the Baron buff, and they can now try to threaten those inhibitors.
Yeah. It's a little mini Exodia. It's not the Elder buff Exodia by any means. As, yeah, just backing on a ward. The most classic League of Legends thing. Everybody's done it at some point.
Yeah, with no backup as well. And Vikla's just like, well, I'm going to commit. I'm going to go in on this. The rest of his team is closer to rotate, so... And he knows it. You know, he knows that DRX can't save him, so it's just a smart call. It's that impressive vision I was talking about. Man, this game really gives, or should give, BNK fans hope. This team knows what to do with the lead, and they've really improved since the massive advantage they had over Gen G. Obviously, Gen G a different caliber of team than DRX, but still... just so methodical the way they've played out this mid-game. Now we enter the late game, and their lead is practically insurmountable with this Baron. I mean, again, DRX, they could win a fight, they could get back in, but they're just not giving them that fight.
Yeah, they're definitely not. We see Raptor Just able to pressure on the side as once again they just charm up UCal. UCal not able to play the game tonight. It's just not happening for him, and the dive follow-up is there. Teddy just got here, doesn't even elect to ult in. Now he has to, and he's just gonna die instead. BNK way too far ahead as the Zion who got fed feels pretty good, but not good enough as they're just pretty much withdrawing underneath the turret because they can. Didn't have to do that, but for the vibes, I suppose, the mental edge is BNK might just end the game right here.
I mean, they have a wave coming through, and I mean, 20 seconds on UCal, I just don't think there's a defense here.
It's not looking too likely, but without the Baron, maybe Rich can clear this wave. He's absolutely trying his best, and BNK low on health. They're not going to take the chance here.
He didn't, you know, he didn't fight the team, but he killed the minions, and that's enough in this case with no other open inhibitors. So that will force the back away. You know, Raptor is looking pretty clean on this Nefiri. I did not trust in draft. As you guys know, if you've been watching since the beginning, I didn't think the execution was going to be there, but they have really played this incredibly well. Looks like this is something that, and this style of play is something that they've really practiced. And they know the prio targets they want to go for. And when you have a lead, it gets easier, to be sure, but you know, Rich surviving here is actually pretty massive, because if he doesn't, they do end for sure.
Yeah.
So that's huge for DRX, but you're still 10,000 gold behind. You know, your Nexus is still alive, but how much longer are we talking if BNK just keep this up? Control is real.
Yeah. You can see every time DRX are on the back, but UCal just kind of dies every time. He's always ulting backwards into his team, the Rakan, but like, the Rakan will just hop back, and you don't have kill pressure, and that's just going to make you even more vulnerable. He's not putting up a wall. He's not protecting himself at all. Keeps getting picked off. There's no proactive angle for DRX at this point, down 10,000 gold, so it just feels a bit helpless for them, trying to set up the Sun Disc here in mid. And really, I think the one way DRX can win a fight is if they kill Diablo on a big mistake.
Yeah, or, you know, potentially if they can catch somebody, even a frontliner, you know, like anyone who's at the front line, because it's just not a tanky comp, you know?
Well, they're going to go in onto Diablo and Kellen as Octo just dies. And meanwhile, we have Clear coming on in and just ending the game as this is happening. And we got a little bit of a team fight. Hard to even call it a team fight at this point. As Clear is going to go into the 1v1. He's just going to go for Rich, actually. We got another GP coming in as the team fight is going the way of BNK, and they should be able to end this game from here. Unless the zombie Zion does something, but not looking very likely. The two of them alone will hit the Nexus, and BNK go up 1-0.
You know, outside of Diablo getting solo killed, I have very few notes here for BNK. That was just a clean game. Grab a lead, hold on to it, push around the Baron pit, put those wards in there, trap isolated targets, force a situation where DRX have to kind of send their Pantheon forward to try to fight for that vision. He keeps getting picked off because of it. And in that last moment, the only way I think they could lose the game, besides, like you said, a mistake from Diablo, is just winning a 5v5 fight with their incredibly strong team fight comp. Clear's like, yeah, you guys can mess around with that. I'm going to end the game. And that caused such a split in DRX. Somebody has to go home. They lose Rich, of course. And then they lose the fight and their base at the same time. It's just BNK running circles around DRX. I really did not expect to see this, especially when we saw the draft, but I'm pleasantly surprised. And Clear and Diablo putting up big numbers here. Same with Raptor, honestly. I mean, he did a lot of Q burn, he did a lot of dog Leandres, but he went on some big prio targets. And some of the fights and engages we saw when they were getting picks onto UCal, for example, was just super well coordinated, and they had no hesitation.
None at all. BNK looking clean here in game number 1. DRX will have to go back to the drawing board, as that was a bit of a disappointing defeat from their side. It might be a longer best of 3 than we expected, or maybe a short one if BNK keeps up the cleanliness. We'll see, guys. We'll take a break and have the space. We'll be right back.
가봐. 우리 괜찮아.
아 무리 안 해도 돼.
안해. 가봐.
일어날게 오늘 살짝.
내가 아지를 텔 끌어볼게 이거. 가봐. 텔 끄는 각으로 맞을 거야. 판테 노플. 하게.
사이언 텔. 맥게 이러 간다.
봐줄래 싸워줘. 나 딜러트 봐줄게. 야 싸우자. 야 나 돌았어. 소용없어. 하이사 앞으로 돌았어. 하이사 노플. 하이사 잡았고. 아지를 쪽 볼게. 나부터 볼게 우리. 야 이겼어.
끝나냐 현민아?
끝나. 제발 할게. 이기잖아. 아 이기지 사이온. 이겨야 하잖아. 개패지.
한판 날아줘.
나이스. 좋았다 얘들아.
Teams don't really flip the game early. DRX did kind of throw themselves into a rough spot on those early objective fights, but Varus will be banned this time around. DRX is going to take that one off the board first. Vi will continue to be banned. I imagine Kalista will continue to be banned, and Gwen probably be banned again by BNK since they're on red side this time. Ooh, Kalista blue side ban gives an extra ban over to BNK.
I think maybe looking at the Ezreal, you know, with the Kai'Sa and the Xayah taken away, that does stick out as the biggest one outside of Varus and Kalista, obviously.
Sure.
So
Ashe isn't as punishing.
Yeah.
And less commonly played, honestly, here in the LCK so far. So we'll see what this final ban ends up being. Don't need to ban Gwen on blue side, unless you really want that Ezreal more than the Gwen, which I don't think will be the case. Rumble does empower a Gwen first pick, so I think Gwen will be that final ban, and then they could consider the Ezreal first pick if they would like it. There's a lot of other picks that are quite strong in this meta, like Sejuani, that are available that you could grab here instead, especially with Jax and Yone still up and stuff like that, that pairs really well with it. And it's a Sponge favorite, so that'd be the only other pick I feel like that you're really considering right now as a B1.
Yeah.
With all the other OPs gone. I mean, even Jace was played in that last game.
There's also the Ambessa.
Corki. That was not on the list of champions that should have been B1'd, I thought.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to review the list.
I mean, Corki's found like a decent spot in the bottom lane. I just don't feel like it had the same prio as Ezreal. We've seen a lot of response Corkis into Ezreal.
Yeah, this is kind of
match spikes, right?
Yeah, this is kind of Teddy's way of saying, well, maybe we can keep Ezreal for game 3 because maybe they won't play Ezreal into Corki if I first pick it. But Diablo will. A little bit of a tough matchup to play out. Not as tough as some of the other matchups for Ezreal, but can certainly be one that goes back and forth depending on how it's played out. As we will see an Ahri to be hovered here. And Vi is banned, of course, but some other champs that pair well with the Ahri are still up. Haven't really seen Paperman Viego all too much this season, but he's been an old favorite. Things are getting a little bit interesting here now that we have the 80 carry pool, thinned a little bit. The prio went up on those. I don't think there's any world where UCAL will be playing this Corki. Oh, as I say that, I mean, they really want to win the bottom lane. I mean, this makes sense. You can grab Rel here too before it's banned.
Yeah.
And the jungle pool will get thinned out pretty massively, and Raptor will get his pick in that final spot if you do that, but does feel like a pretty solid rotation. It's not standard, but it works.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Almost baiting out the Ezreal pick and then picking MF, trying to shut it down in lane. The Ambessa, mentioned it before, big pick for Rich. They're going to prio that for him.
Pretty tough to play it, though, into these champions so far. But yeah, it's a champion he's definitely very comfortable with.
It's not looking like a dive comp either, alongside of the Ambessa. I think it's just pure comfort for Rich, so we'll see how he does. And it puts BNK in a rough spot because now they got to pick jungler or they got to pick top. And
Renekton is going to be the counter pick here. I think it's pretty good into Ambessa. They could have gone for something like a Gnar, but it feels pretty volatile here. And they could have also gone for something even like a completely different direction, like a Cassante. But I do like the guaranteed CC that the Renekton is going to have for this pretty mobile Corki. If he gets on top of him, can be very problematic. Misfortune also immobile, so really easy for the Renekton to get on top of her. The Lilia ban here makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of AD in this composition. And now, I think the second ban will probably be a Rel, you have to imagine. But we could just go 4 jungle bans and see
Yeah.
see whose pool is bigger.
Who's got the larger back?
I mean, the Alistair ban is saying, like, ban Rel or regret it.
I mean, yeah, it really is. Or they just take it away. That's the one power you have, but then you don't really have counterpick
And I just
other
don't-
than for jungle.
I don't really feel like Rel works with this comp too well. Leona, on the other hand, I feel like would go pretty hard here. But they leave it up and they ban the Ivern, which, again, with all this AD here, I think that makes a ton of sense. Like, I think Ivern absolutely fits the bill here for DRX's comp. I think that's a strong ban, so perhaps they just valued that higher than the Rel engage synergy with the Misfortune. I think banning Leona feels pretty safe here. It works well with the comp. It's great with Ezreal. They take away the Skarner instead. So you could probably just lock a jungler here and save counter pick. Although the Alistair's gone and they're going to pick Rel.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it's going to go, but yeah, I guess could still get the Leona. Wukong is going to be the jungle they opt into. Great into, I feel, Mbessa and Misfortune. A little bit tougher to pull off into the Corki, though.
Yeah, works really well with Ahri.
Or Paperman!
It's Paperman!
He may be made of paper, but it's a sharp edge. He's got there.
We've all gotten paper cuts from time to time. That's what it feels to get slashed by his blade.
Man, I hadn't had a paper cut in a while. I had one last week. It is the worst. I was like, wow, this really hurts. It was bleeding. That may be what happens if the mid-juggle synergy here can make DRX bleed. As the Rel was super obvious. This wasn't the question we had. The question was what is going to be in the jungle here. Could be a Sejuani angle, but it doesn't feel like there's a ton of synergy here, but the ultimate alone can set up a lot for you. Yeah. It's hard to lock down these pretty mobile champions, though, with it. And they want AP damage. Zyra is tough to play, but it really helps set up the Misfortune with her ultimate as well. I do really like this. I think the question, as we always have with teams that are on the east side, is can they play it? Can they pilot it well?
Yeah.
The Leona I was alluding to earlier just seems super obvious, especially now they have the Viego lock-in. I think BNK got a very straightforward draft here. Like, there's not a lot of finesse required. You know, you lock people down, Ezreal shoots them from far away, Ezreal controls objectives by poking and staying away from the champions on the side of DRX. The Mbessa, I feel like it's really hard to use in team fights here because getting the backline is not going to be easy and not necessarily going to be safe either to do. But if they can get some Rel combos with the Zyra, I feel like that just doesn't even matter. The Mbessa is just going to be dashing around, and who cares?
Yeah, and not to mention the lane is not going to be easy for him either. We've seen a lot of counter pick Renekton into Mbessa, and a bunch of teams have shied away from it, but we even saw it yesterday as well. Just, you know, a blind Mbessa straight into a Renekton counter pick. We're going to see it here once again. Rich has looked very comfortable on the pick, but it might struggle a little bit. Maybe after his Scion game, he's feeling pretty good.
It says you're gonna reverse sweep right, and then it says like Dabong Rich, so like thumbs up Rich, and then it says thank you. Love that sign
Nice.
there. She definitely wrote it during the break. I think this comp absolutely can work. A lot of combo potential, but it is the harder comp to play by far.
Yeah, we'll see if those circles can all align into more than just a Venn diagram. As here on the side of BNK, definitely playable from the red side. Nicely done. We're ready. Let's hop into the rift for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
All right, game 2 on the cards here. We didn't expect to be in this position, but BNK, they got blue side. They played it very well, and they absolutely deserved that first win. And now it's up to DRX to answer the call, because maybe they weren't expecting so much pushback in this series, as a lot of us were not.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, Vikla on Ahri, definitely a pick that, you know, it can be up and down in terms of individual performance on. It's one that you can get a lot of lane advantages. You can push that electrocute edge. You could do so many things we pilot well, but it's kind of volatile into the Corki, obviously, because, you know, he's also kind of a lane bully and has Gatling gun, which will shred your resistances. So when you decide to trade, when you decide to go for those electrocutes, will be important for this mid matchup. Nice dodge there. As Vikla's a player who I kind of associate with Ari the champion, because that was kind of back when he was in the LCK and having playtime with Arya on KT Rolster was when Ari got reworked. And he played it a few times back then. My memory serves me well. And it was one of the picks that he looked better on, for sure. So see if he can perform on it. As trusting Vikla, you know, has had some, for those who have, you know, you've been heartbroken a few times. You know, not going to name any team names from another region or anything like that either, but I think with this comp, it's simple enough, you know? Simple enough.
Simple enough. Hitting level 2. Nicely done. Gonna get a cleanse out.
That's pretty huge. That gives them so much extra power in the lane, and what is already, as you mentioned, a big win in terms of the flex of the Corki to mid and playing the MF to get this advantage against the Ezreal that they left up. And now Diablo and Kellen are like, well, what advantages? Can still turn it around, of course, but kind of a freebie there set up by Kellen.
We're getting a lot of focus here on the Zyra clear. You know, it has been a little while since we've seen Zyra, I guess. I mean, she used to be quite meta, see her all the time.
A lot of other regions still play her a ton, too.
Yeah, and the one thing that she does really well, amongst other things, but one of the main things is her incredibly fast clear, right? So she's already here in the top lane. Clear tried to get in and get a ward down, but the clear is already done at 304. So immediately going to take a bunch of damage, and now he has to go back, and that's going to take some of that power away from the Renekton and Leon.
You know, a bit of an engage here again.
Going on in, proccing the Aftershock, but still taking a bunch of damage. As the MF, you know, remember we talked about in the draft how the MF got selected, it was available, the Corki was swamped into mid to do well in this lane, but so far not doing well.
Yeah, just some really nice angles from Kellen here to set Diablo up. Leona Ezreal is also a very strong lane. You know, it's very punishing if you get caught. Now, Raptors down here.
Yeah, nice little dive set up here, although Kellen is going to get extremely low. First blood goes over, and Raptor as well is just dead. It's 2 kills given over to DRX in a failed dive in the bot lane.
That is why they call him Paperman. Well, I started calling him that, and then, you know, some LCK people call him Paperman. It hasn't really taken off yet. I'm trying to make it a thing. But
trying to make it a thing, yeah.
He's not very tanky. Doesn't have a ton of health at level 4. And that dive, when I saw the Viego, I was like, yeah, he's thinking about it, but maybe you get a summit best. This is just so difficult to pull off, especially because there's a Rel on the other side, you know? I mean, that turret, they didn't read the notes, I guess. Raptor may want to check up on what 2025 turrets are looking like. He may want to...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being very harsh, but that was a optimistic dive that backfired in a big way. At least one of the kills went over to Andil. That's all we could say.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Andil. The immediate stun that came out from him really kind of threw Kellen for a loop. You know, there was no Q stun that came in from the Leona, so that allowed the flashes to come out, the late reaction as well. So at least DRX, they were expecting it. They responded very well, and they were able to turn around a rough situation. The dive itself was risky, and it did not pay off, as we did see. So
I just think the potential for that to go wrong was so high that the choice was not one that I'd make, but Raptor felt priced into. At least, you know, Diablo does get a kill. He is significantly ahead in terms of CS. As up here...
Yeah, Kellen doesn't have flash, and he's tanking up quite a lot. This is still a Leona. I felt like Teddy wasn't ready for it, almost. He was just hitting the minions, and so not a lot of damage goes in onto that Leona.
Yeah, and it's not really a big deal for BNK, because Diablo's landing into an Ambessa down here and doesn't care, and don't really lose anything from this. It's not like Teddy's going to be like, aha, now plate gold. So that didn't really work out. Definitely a missed opportunity, it feels like, for sure. And over here, Rich is just getting what he can. They told me that lane swaps were gone, but you know, just seeing them in every game, it's weird.
Yeah, they were just delayed, you know. Nice little charm dodge, but Kellen also here, okay, gonna miss that. Cal, I mean, it was a nice dodge, yes, but also he wasn't moving all that much. Diablo Gonna get hit by the ult here, and now he's in a lot of trouble as he does not seem to have his Arcane Shift. Actually winning the trade now. As I say that, Flash comes in, still had barrier, as I got baited, and so did Rich. Yeah, it's a nice little trade for Diablo, down a level.
Yeah, down a level, doesn't have his ultimate. Conquer procs at the end of that. He was ready to take the kill.
All right, this time for sure. No, okay. Kellen just gonna, he doesn't die.
He's just really close with Clear. They're very good friends, and he wants to hang out with him in the lane. And Bondle and Teddy said, no. We're supposed to 2v1. But yeah, the lane setup here also giving some extra experience to Diablo. In the solo lane, will now pick up his 6. You can see he's a whole level up on Teddy right now, whose budget of his kit is pretty heavily skewed towards the ultimate. But he is, of course, also going to take a back here. And there's no objective to fight over, so that ult advantage doesn't necessarily matter right now. But it's these small things stacking up here for B&K that make this game feel pretty even. You know?
Ondil's desperately trying to hold this wave, and you know what? He's going to do a pretty good job of it. Only 1 minion passes him before Teddy gets up there.
And I think if that dive didn't happen, you know, that failed dive with a better trade up for DRX, B&K would feel like they're in a really nice position here. As Rich will get forced away. That pesky Kellen can't kill him. He's going to annoy you.
Yeah, he's kind of everywhere. He's been bot top, bot once again. And now it is just a legitimate lane swap. I think Renekton generally pretty good in lane swaps. You're not diving a Renekton. I mean, they're going to try. We'll see if it actually works out. We've already seen one dive kind of struggle. The Dominus is already here.
Does a lot of damage.
Zyra does, but already a miss on the root. A bit of damage coming out from the plants, and they've really chunked him down. Another dive happening in the bottom lane. I thought that dive would be a lot easier. The follow-up dive here is clean from the side of DRX, so in fact you can dive the Renekton if you're given enough time.
Yeah.
And they take him out, and guess who lives? It's Rich.
They just go for part 2. Rich has learned from the LCK Cup, where he would often try to greedily stay in these situations. He does not. He walks away. He survives. Now that there's some time passing, he feels like, okay, probably go back. Probably saw the jungler, or rather the support leave, so I can go over there and feel okay. And he will be able to get some of those minions. We have a weird situation here in this game with the lane swap, but you know, when the dust settles, it's still a very even game. DRX picking up some nice advantages off of that kill top side. And Rich is about a half of a level ahead of Clear because Clear had Kellen soaking XP in his lane for a really long time. So there's that. That's one of the things that you can mention in terms of advantages. Kellen also behind in experience as a result, and will just now get his ultimate online in just a second here. Needs it so desperately for this upcoming fight. Grub's up in 50, and I think that is where B&K are looking to group up and engage. Again, the ease of execution of this comp feels like it should be there. You know, it feels like they shouldn't mess this one up. But getting to the objective is the tricky part. As you can see, Vikla does not have prio in the mid lane.
Yeah, getting to the objective, DRX, and they should be able to burst that down pretty quickly if they go for it, but it's going to pressure in the top side. Raptor, so far, he's just been, after that dive, just trying to farm up as much as possible. Actually ahead of the Zyra by 1 at this point in time, not half bad.
Yeah, I mean, the Zyra, now that she has setup here, though, it's really difficult to get in. You know, she's got her plant set, doesn't have Leandri's yet, but has Burn Urn, so, you know, I mean, the longer you're walking towards her and trying to get in and look for an engage, the more damage you're taking. So feels pretty nice here for DRX.
I mean, vision control and everything is going the way of DRX. A miss on the Charm, the Spirit Rush also used, as well as the Heartbreaker. Diablo also taking a big chunk from Teddy. Feels like DRX de facto will take over this river and all of the grubs. There's no kill here, but it's basically as good because you're just going to take all the objectives. We do have a fight down in the bottom side. Although kind of short-lived. Clear not really respecting that. He doesn't really care about the Ambessa.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to use his ult in this situation, so feeling pretty good. As Raptor's pretty low from that last skirmish, is going to start this dragon up, and Vikla will TP, so it should be able to get this. But yeah, I think B&K looking a little bit lost in that last fight. Sponge not hesitating at all to look for the engage with the setup he already had. And you're starting to see big advantages stack up across the lanes outside of topside.
What are we watching?
Supportal combat!
Kellen, where are you going? I mean, he's stopping his back, I guess. But if you give him enough time, I mean, we're even seeing a Magnet Storm here. Oh, Andal got him, I guess, and now baited, I suppose. Okay, that was really strange. Teddy is going to kill Kellen.
Yeah, I really, like, Viego is bottom. I really don't see the angle that Kellen saw there.
I have no idea what that
I
was.
really don't, don't see it.
Just the whole thing, I just want to erase it. Like, pretend it didn't happen.
But at least I got to say supportal combat like Doa coined many years ago. I hope he's watching.
That's always a good one.
We miss you. He's visiting
do.
soon.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, gonna get to hang out. But Sponge is behind on farm, but making a much bigger impact in this game, although right now, maybe not.
Yeah, he doesn't have any flash or teammates or anything, and Clear's just going to pick up a nice kill. That's some value for your teleport. So DRX, or rather B&K, at least making some moves to try to come back in this game.
And yeah, I mean, that's a big pick. Not 100% sure why it went down the way it did, but he ends up getting caught there in the jungle, and see what else they can get as they are grouped. A bit of a tug of war for an objective that's spawning in 3 minutes here up on the top side.
I thought maybe they were going to pressure the top lane turret and try to pick up plates themselves, as Rich is just getting free money. Down on the bottom side, free cash money.
Cash money, that's right.
Yeah. We still need that soundboard from you yesterday. That was great.
Just, you know, Photoshop $2 signs over my eyes. Especially this exchange rate.
Oh,
I'm not putting won or Japanese yen up there.
Yeah.
But, you know, in this, the topside exchange, I think they may have learned Raptor was like having flashbacks of the top or the bottom dive. He does not want to repeat it. With a Corki who's got Valkyrie up there and Flash, this decides not to push the issue any further. The game is relatively even, but DRX are at a pretty nice level of control right now. Misfortune has her Bloodthirster, which means that she can kind of just walk up to these mid waves and push Diablo out and maintain a pretty comfortable level of prio, sitting on a 200 gold lead.
Well, we got Yucal in a lot of trouble here, and he's going to elect not to flash. Definitely the right choice, especially with also Kellen making his way up there. There's just no way you're getting out alive. So another pick to BNK.
Yeah. Guess he just wasn't expecting everybody to be up there. Again, with the objective so far away, just a little bit of a greedy push, gets punished. Rich still freely in control of that bottom lane. But at the end of the day, it's another kill. Game stays relatively even, just 1,000 gold between these two. What I'm most excited for is what's going to happen in a real 5v5 team fight, because we've had some shenanigans, you could say, in this game so far, but I feel like we haven't really been able to test these compositions against each other, how they're supposed to work functionally in a team fight with the pick opportunities you have with Leona, Ahri, Viego, with the Renekton as well, versus combos and circles like we were talking about. Very different identities for these two comps. The turn is insane for DRX, so if you don't end up getting that CC chain and locking somebody down, then Andal goes in, Rich goes in, Sponge goes in, and Teddy presses R in a very cone-shaped trajectory towards your whole team, and you lose. So you got to be really sure when you go in for that engage that you're going to get that target. And from behind, without full vision control like BNK had last game, this is a little tricky as Andal's out here.
He is out here, grinding. He's trying his best.
What is that? What was that exchange? They were not on the same page. They were attacking different targets.
I don't know. It's been a weird day. We've had a lot of these recently at the LCK. I feel like I'm always casting them as well. At least this one not as weird as last week Saturday, me and Dan. Oh boy.
That was a day to be at home.
one of the LCK days of all time.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. We're getting a lot more action in this series, which is good.
All right, now DRX have control of this choke point. and circles and cones. So that's good for them. The prio that Teddy holds in the mid lane is really so valuable right now. You can see Vikla on the top lane has that big wave of minions going through, but I think DRX would be happy to drop them to get this Herald. See if that collapses. If you can find a good target here on this Ahri.
Well, gonna miss the solar flare, but the charm's gonna land. Nice dodge on the root as well. Clear is in that back line amongst 5 of them, and the damage comes through. They just take him out. The MF ult is going to do a lot of damage there as well, but it's already 4v3 in favor of BNK, and Teddy's got a flash away. Raptor looking for some more as the resets coming through for the Viego and the Ahri.
Yeah, the soul lander's here for DRX, trying to keep BNK interested so they can't actually take the Herald, but it's not going to work out. As you can see, Raptor is taking that now. Teddy's just going to go straight back to mid and try to push Diablo out, maybe get some sort of cross map here with Rich, but Diablo is Ezreal, in fact, so while he won't be able to deal with the misfortune and the wave push, he is not going to die in this scenario and will be able to hold the turret. I want to watch that again because I'm not sure, where was Ondo? Ondo like comes in on this super weird angle. Like he's way up right now. Like look at where he is.
Hey, he's frontlining.
And he's frontlining, but like the split for BNK makes it really impossible for him to actually like Magnet Storm anybody. Like then they did. Yeah, well, I mean, any multiple buddies.
Yeah.
Any value Magnet Storm.
Okay, well, Callan just died.
Yeah.
In live, not sure how that happened.
He has died a few times this game in unusual circumstances, but we might get a replay of it to figure out a little bit more, but it looks like he was just trying to clear vision towards this dragon, ended up getting caught. Pizza strength to DRX after that play. One other thing I wanted to point out in that fight too is even though BNK ended up having such a great lead in it, it's just another supportal combat, but he has no teammates like last time situation, so pretty similar. Is the fact that Teddy was able to do so much damage to the team, and he has that Bloodthirster, he's kind of deceptively tanky, deceptively difficult to kill, and if you kind of keep trying to funnel in with the Viego dive, with Leona and everything, and Teddy's in a good spot, you're going to have a hard time. That's what I was trying to get at there. Kellen has, see if he can tighten it up a little bit, because he had a pretty decent game one.
Yeah, he was pretty good in game one. I just think the Leona has been a little bit of a pain point.
He was good in lane too, but it's like outside of that, it's been wacky.
I think it's a little bit of a disconnect between the team as well, because obviously he wants to clear the vision for the dragon. It's obvious what he wants to do. It's just that, you know, he's not talking to his team and on the same page as them, because either you got to know that your team is there and you're going to clear vision together, or you got to know that you're too far ahead and that you're alone, and that's really the issue
exactly
that he needs to solve with himself and with the team. So yeah, I mean, Raptor's super fed. So if Raptor's there, Kellen can clear all the vision he wants.
Yeah,
we're seeing that right now.
100%.
It's just there's no dragon anymore.
Yeah. Otacon and 40 is Andil.
All right, well, he's going to go in on the Viego once again. He's setting up for Teddy's ultimate afterwards, but, I mean, maybe trying to bait them into a fight there in the choke doesn't quite pan out the way he thought it would.
Yeah, perhaps they need to implement some sort of on 3 type countdown system. You know,
simplify it a little bit more.
Like, you know, like Gumayusi famously would do with his Varus for some of the objective steals.
Yeah,
he would coordinate with owner. Maybe something like that, where they count down together. As Andal, I think in that situation is, you know, I'm being a bit facetious here. He was just a little bit disconnected and felt like that was his best opportunity to get multiple targets before losing most of his health bar. But Teddy was too far away to follow up. There's been a little bit of that going on in the game, with the supports out there fighting each other, and the teams trying to keep up with their very high-tempo movement towards the enemy team.
Yeah.
As Diablo will now hit his 2-item spike on the Ezreal. And still no objective up for a while here, so at the end of the day, Teddy's not too far behind. In fact, ahead on gold.
Yeah. Feels like Cloud Soul is huge for BNK.
Absolutely massive.
So, I mean, think about Renekton, think about Viego, Ahri, really obvious ones, but even the bottom lane as well. Gonna have an ult in here, and gonna chase him down this very long lane. Clear has Flash and Dominus, and he just doesn't want any of it. He doesn't have any vision, he doesn't want to take the risk. Kellen, this time he's got Flash, so thankfully he's not gonna die this time around.
That was a very preemptive vision clear he was looking for there. He has Hex Flash uptime.
Yes.
Going up.
He has unlocked it, so that's good.
Yeah, could have been worse, is really what we're getting at here, but another similar issue here on this Leona. When you play Leona, sometimes you feel immortal. You have Aftershock, you have Eclipse.
Yeah.
You're sitting on Merc Treads, you're like, you can't even hold me in place very long. As well, top laners just take turns killing turrets.
Oh, we got a TP coming in. They want to punish Rich here, but Rich is Ambessa with Flash. Gonna get over this wall. Clear says, well, I guess we'll just trade Flash for your teleport, Vikla. Sorry about that, but yeah, not able to lock down Rich.
And
Yeah.
unable to stop him from getting the turret. So both top lane turrets are now gone. Gold here pretty even, as is being showcased by production. Very close game. This next objective fight, where we have these 2-item spikes online, IE for Teddy, 2 items for UCal, 2 items for Diablo. Like this, Rod of Ages is complete. Like this might actually be the fight that decides the game, or at least pushes it in one big lead for one of these teams. You know, we had a pretty big lead for DRX. It's faded now. They have Prio at the moment for this dragon. 40 seconds till it spawns, and Teddy's just going to keep controlling this mid lane. Even Vikla coming over to try to help out to deal with these minions. In terms of teleports, everyone but Vikla has it.
Uh-oh. Hide on Bush. And guess who's up here as well? No objective just yet, but we got TPs coming in. But guess what? It's already 2v1. So your TP, Rich, it's not going to amount to all too much. He's just going to have to run away, as now Raptor is Corki chasing after the flashless Ambessa, and the rest of the team is coming up here as well. They don't even need them, as the Heartbreaker does come out. Raptor gets a big shutdown. This Viego is pretty gigantic right now. Flash Charm right on top of Sponge, but he will be punished for it. Vikla does get locked down by Ondil, but now with the resets coming through with the Viego and the Renekton and the Ezreal, this is what this comp loves to do, is just chase you down, get more resets, and have a very scrappy fight. DRX not able to find the team fight they were looking for, and so BNK will take the lead.
I think this really just threw DRX off completely. The fact that they look for a pick onto UCal in the top lane is just not what they expected. You know, they expected it was going to be more dragon focused. UCal can TP in, so he's just going to hold it up there. And then the fact that a Viego is topside is something they just really didn't account for. Like, I think that's really where the dominoes start to fall over here for DRX, because Raptor should be with his team trying to fight over and get that Prio back is what they expect, but instead he comes up here, and Rich thinks he can TP in to save the play, ends up going disastrously wrong for him, as he is taken out as well in exchange. So he's now down TP. And then over here, they try to make something happen because they're like, okay, well, that was a disaster, but maybe in the interim we can get something done, and then end up overextending. And I thought the game was going to be blown open wide on a Dragon fight, but it was just the events leading up to Dragon, and Raptor making a really cool call. I think one that most wouldn't have expected, and a Viego ganking up there with a Renekton onto a Corki also doesn't sound like a recipe for success, but it worked out and puts BNK in such a fantastic position. Now they have sole point.
Yeah, and UCal's been getting caught out a lot, but really a lot of credit goes over to Clear and Raptor, as you already highlighted, for just setting up that play, just hiding on Bush, expecting him to overcommit, which he has been doing a lot in the series. I also, for DRX, you know, they tried to go for Diablo, who's a Ezreal with Flash, and they go very deep into the jungle as their top lane is dying, as both UCal and Rich are dying. So the timing of that could not have been worse. They get caught out, and they kind of get stuck in a fight where they get chased down. It's not going to look good. And that Cloud Soul that's so good for BNK's comp, they're just one step closer to it, and they take the gold lead.
Even every single individual elemental Drake is just so good for them. You know, it's the 3 Drakes they sit on right now feels amazing. You know, the extra cooldown reduction, it's although slight, even that they pick up from Hextech, feels great for Ahri, Ezreal, you know, even to a lesser extent Viego. As Vikla's on a flank here.
Oh man. This is what this Ezreal does from ahead, and now that flank you mentioned is gigantic. They try to go in on it onto Viego once again. It's just not lighting up for Ondil. He just keeps going in on Viego and getting punished. 4 kills happen in the blink of an eye. BNK, they can take Baron now.
Yeah, 100%, and UCal's down flash. You know, there's just no way he's going to get out of that. I think it was a really nice setup from Vikla. And as the team collapses here with Diablo pushing and pressuring, it's natural for UCal to be like, all right, well, I got to trade back here, but he doesn't have flash. He's not in a position to escape. They have no control whatsoever, and DRX are falling apart in this one. Off the back of some really aggressive, confident plays from BNK. This is a different team, I think, today than what we've seen all year long, and it's obviously, again, against a weaker caliber of opponent than a lot that we've seen. I mentioned the Gen.G loss that was from LCK Cup, where Gen.G were super far behind against BNK, and BNK couldn't close it out. This feels like another one of those situations where, you know, if you were looking at BNK in the past, you'd be like, can they win from here? And I feel like with the decisions that we're seeing them make, the decisions we saw them make in Game 1, it was so much smarter, so much better than what they did when they had that lead against Gen.G. I think they will close it out. Like, they're playing so well.
Yeah, I mean, Raptor incredibly strong here. He's just baiting them into fights. Like, this area is controlled by BNK. DRX have no business being around there and trying to turn that one onto the Viego that's got 6 kills. And so they will be punished once again. The Ripple Baron power play is on. And we see some pings on the Dragon, but yeah, the Dragon's not up. They can take the Otacon.
By the way, Raptor has Bloodthirster.
Yeah.
He had Collector a while ago. This is, you know, against the Zyra, obviously, that gets a lot of gold because of her farming, but farming kills does give you a 3.3 thousand lead, and now he's got a shield.
Yeah, the shield bow, right?
Yeah, shield bow, sorry. I think I said Bloodthirster. He's got the shield bow.
They're both red.
Yeah.
They kind of, you know, stick out. They got like the white in the middle. It makes sense. Yeah, Sponge might just be dead here. I'm not sure about the follow-up, though. The Flash Charm not going to land this time.
Similar type of item, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, they look similar. Like, you can see them, right?
When Viego's ripping through a team fight and getting resets, the last thing you want to have to deal with when you're trying to kill him is a shield when he gets low. And the lifesteal as well. Feeling very good. Tons of experience now picked up from the Otacon pedals. On top of it all, I feel like this one is, as I haven't said for a while, all over but the crying, it feels for DRX. I mean,
yeah.
Their composition has a lot of combo potential, but difficult to actually make it work. Just like in Game 1, difficult to make things work with your comp when there's so much aggressive vision being pushed into you, so much aggressive control, and BNK know how to hold on to these leads. I wouldn't have said this about this team after LCK Cup, but the fundamentals from ahead have definitely improved with this squad.
Yeah. Diablo very confident as well. You can tell he's playing out this Ezreal aggressively, fitting them into bad spots. Arcane shifting forward when he knows the timing is right. And it's all about this Cloud Drake. DRX note as well. We talked about it in draft as, you know, this comp is difficult to make work, and they have had a lot of difficulty making it work.
Rich is super careful here. He's so aware that there's a possibility he gets caught on rotation.
It looks like there was a ward that spotted them.
Andil is so important for setting up those combos. He cannot get caught. Goes down to half health.
Just turning on a Rich here. I feel like BNK don't necessarily have to do this, but the scrappier the better, I suppose, for their comp. And trying to catch out Rich. But DRX are going to reclaim this Tri-Brush. Andil, though, level 9. As here comes Kellen. He's going to engage straight onto Teddy. Not going to follow up there. Vikla does get isolated. Kellen is going down. This is a very messy fight for the Cloud Soul. Still taken by BNK. In goes Vikla once again. Look at the damage from the True Shot Barrage. But no follow-up here for clear. As a massive Q comes in. He locks 2 of them down. And just baited by the Fed Renekton once again. Well, okay, well, that was kind of sad. But it's okay. You already did your job, and Diablo will clean up from here.
He just saved the fight for them, 100%
Yeah.
on his own. It was a lost fight if he doesn't make those plays, if he doesn't get those kills. Cleans up house. That was actually, it looked like a big whiff for BNK with the control they had, because the fight starts off with DRX actually getting grouped up. Like, that's the scenario they were trying to prevent, with Rich trying to block him out, but Vikla cannot get in and join his team. Teddy gets interrupted here by Clear, another heroic play from him in this fight, solos him essentially. True Shot Barrage does a ton of work, and then Clear is like, well, I can fall. Look how low he gets Lifeline from his Maw, and actually is able to flash on top of and kill Yukal. That item getting some serious value here for Clear. Does mess up going over the wall, but like you said, he did his job. Otherwise, if he dies there, I think there's a lot more push, there's a lot more potential they can get onto.
뭐야 이거? 레넥톤?
What is this Renekton?
얘네 이제 태어난다 5초 뒤에.
Oh. I thought he was just saying, because I thought he was just giving him big ups for what he did in the fight.
Instead, he's memeing his dash over the wall, which It was
Okay,
funny.
Vikla, you're dead, man. Are you really gonna be memeing on your teammate after he just won the fight for you and you're in the death chamber?
Yeah, I mean,
A little peanut gallery commentary, I feel. The backseat driving for Vikla over here.
yeah.
They're in such a good position to close this one out now.
He baited out the Ondil ult, I guess. Because Ondil, you know, we talked about the wobble combo potential of this comp. I have only seen single-man Magnet Storms the entire game. And it's much more difficult to do from behind, but when it was an even state, it was much easier for DRX to play, and still we were getting single-man Magnet Storms. It just feels like some of our lower-level Rels, they're like, I see target, I'm just sending everything into this guy. And it has not been working out. I believe it happened. I believe it happened yesterday as well, maybe with DNF. Not 100% sure. Where it just felt like, you know, there's no restraint.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just gotta go in 100%. And you know, I understand if they 100-0 Vikla there and it's cleaner, then you know you can get something done. But it wasn't meant to be. And we haven't seen the wombo combo just yet.
No, not quite. I don't think we are going to see it. As you can see here, we're not seeing much of Ritz's health bar either. Diablo is level 18. And, you know, that was one of our key points in the match. How's he going to do against Teddy? It's making a very large impact.
Hasn't been much of a contest between the two of them.
No.
Actually, Diablo's just been winning every game so far. Ondil gonna go in. He is gonna catch a Ezreal, but that's not a real target. And Ondil will be going down. Teddy also pretty low. In they both go though, stacking on top of each other into the Zyra. But I think the wallets are heavy enough that they can just press their buttons, go all in, and end the game. As Rich, just pulled out of his ult. Not going to land it, and that will be the end of this one. BNK, very clean performance, and DRX, they're going to have to figure out what happened today.
Yeah, this was not the same performance from them that I saw against T1, where they pushed T1, you know, to a pretty uncomfortable position. They did end up losing both of those games, but looked really good. I think definitely some of the hype for DRX deflating after this one, but I gotta say, it was a clean series from BNK, start to finish. And I don't think most people would have expected them to take this series, but you knew it would be close. I think even less likely, I think much more surprising than anything else is that they take it with a very clean 2-0. Most people didn't think the series was going to be clean in general, but their play in general, overall, especially from ahead, was just so solid. Knowing how to close out games is sometimes half the battle for some of our lower teams, and for BNK, I don't think it's an issue, at least from what we saw here.
Yeah, pretty clearly not. Very nicely done from them. You know, as you mentioned, as much as DRX struggled, BNK was thriving. So really big ups to them. Huge 2-0. That's our Spacers were talking about it. This is a matchup where these two teams are likely to be pretty even in the standings. And if you can get big wins over your direct rivals, it's going to make a big difference. As we got the guns out here for Vikla. Had a pretty nice performance on the RE. Wasn't really the main character, but he had that nice flank the one time, so nice for him. Just felt like a team effort. Really was impressed by Raptors Viego, for sure. You know, the RE Viego making its return, and we haven't seen too much Viego, but he made it seem like a very relevant pick, so nicely done from him.
Such a good comp for it. No Kellen, no win. Kind of somewhat fitting because I feel like
Kellen was on the winning team.
he was on the winning team. He was. They often did it without him as well in this game. But no, I don't think we can criticize Kellen too much for some of those big mistakes he made in terms of like some weird decisions, because overall was pretty solid in the team fights. You know, you do have to work on some of those things against a stronger opponent. Those mistakes might actually cost you even bigger. But remember, this started off with lane dominance as well from Diablo and Kellen. Like, Kellen ended up being the reason why they got lane advantages. This was maybe a bridge too far, but, you know, his Leona play in lane was very solid. He had a good game one. And then this play from Raptor, like, just opened up the whole game. Because I think, you know, most people would not have expected that Viego gank there, and then DRX just kind of fall over, trying to fix it. Rich TPs in while they're also pushing, like you mentioned, in mid, and dying there. And DRX really lost full control at that moment, because up until that point, especially after that failed dive, bottom side, they were looking like they were pulling slightly ahead.
Yeah. If this were the space, this would be highlight 2. because that's where the game ends, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's just such a massive one-sided fight in so many different aspects. And then they follow it up with this, which leads into Baron. And the game is just off the rails from there. DRX, they had a decent shot in this one, you know, trying to turn on to Vikla. But again, no wombo combo power. You're already very far behind. And the fight gets scrappy, which is where BNK's comp is really going to shine. And even though they almost killed Clear, they did not.
Yeah, Clear saves this fight. I think if DRX win that fight, the game gets a little bit more interesting.
레이치 몰라 레이치 몰라.
Let's see the comms here.
천천히 천천히. 야 아래 볼게. 야.
Vikla very vocal. He's not just calling out Clear for messing up going over the wall. He's sharing some information.
Yeah.
And we know Kellen has never really been the shot caller type, so it's not surprising to see other players pick up the slack, actually, here in the case of BNK. Good to see Vikla being vocal.
Yeah. They needed someone to do it.
아 좋잖아.
And Vikla is certainly a voice. He's been around for a decent while now as well. I mean, so is Kellen, but as you mentioned, he's already kind of declared that he's not really a shot-calling type. Diablo with huge damage. I think you get an Ezreal this fed. It's just bound to happen, but excellently played as well. Was really impressed by that. And Raptor, and big numbers going to Clear as well.
Yeah. I voted for Raptor for POM. I thought his performance across both games was really solid, and his play, his gank in the top side is what kind of solidified the game. You could find it on the gold diff in the graph if you try hard enough, but he ends up getting it. I think it's not a shocker. I think you could have given it to a few different players.
Yeah,
But
I think Diablo's a decent shout as well. I'm sure he's going to get some votes.
yeah, Clear had a pretty nice Renekton game and had that fight-saving play. Not 100% necessary, I guess, but I am curious to see where the votes are going to land, but I'm happy that Raptor gets his credit. It's his second of the season as well, so coming up really big for this team. He's been around for a while now, but it was never on like a strong team, but is really starting to really hit his stride.
He's looking good, and we're going to hear from him right now, so let's throw it over to the translation of the POM.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Dear for the POM interview translation, joined by Raptor on the side of BNK FureX. Congratulations! This is your second consecutive victory. How do you feel?
상대가 잘한다고 생각하고 준비를 열심히
today,
했는데 생각보다
We
좀 빨리
prepared
끝난
really
것 같아서
hard for
좋은 것
today's
같습니다.
match, thinking that our opponent is very strong, and I'm really happy that we're able to secure today's victory. This is your second victory in a row, and a unanimous one. Did you expect
오늘은
one?
누가 받을지 좀 예상이 안 됐는데
You know, I couldn't really predict who was going to get POM today,
but
I guess it was deserved.
BNK FureX 이전 인터뷰에서 서두르지 않고 해야 할 플레이를 해주는
And in a previous interview, we heard that you guys had to remain composed and execute the play that you have to make. So
가능성에 대해서 많이
what
얘기하고
changed that brought your performance to this level?
다 같이
I think we discussed a lot as a team regarding what we have to improve on in terms of mechanics and technicality, but I think that's what really made the difference. I feel like we always had a really strong early game, and we never was able to close out a lot of the games that we were able to take, so I think that's what we worked on the most. And you had an incredible performance in Naafiri jungle. Before today, Naafiri had a 37.5% win rate. So do you have a tip for Naafiri at all?
좀 시야
Well,
위주로 잘 하면 될 것 같습니다.
I think you just really have to play around the vision.
시야에 신경 잘 쓰시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 연습 경기와의 간극을 좀 좁히기 위해서 여유를 갖고 게임을 하려고 했다.
Just to close the gap between your practice matches and the real matches on stage, it looks like Kellen had mentioned that you guys really need some calm and collected mindset. And it looks like you got that. Is that right? Yes, I think so too. So what's next? What's your next goal?
사소한 디테일을 채워야 된다고
Our next goal would be to sort of
열심히 준비할
focus
것
on those
디테일까지 한층 업그레이드된 BNK
all those
FureX를
kind of minute and detailed plays within the matches. And your next opponent will be KT Roaster. What is your resolution? KT is also a very good team. And just as good of a momentum we have right now, we want to go ahead and keep it up. And that's the end of the interview with Raptor, and back to the space. Thank you.